Hi, my name is Amy Stout, and this is Daisy. I've been working with Shelties since 2002 as a show hobby heritage preservationist breeder. We're really lucky that Shelties are such a low maintenance breed, and they don't require routine trips to the groomer for major body trims. There's just one place on a Sheltie that tends to get overgrown as the months pass, and that is their ears. You'll be amazed if you can learn these few easy steps to trimming your Sheltie's ears. It'll make your whole dog look like $1,000,000. This is Daisy, and you can see that she's got some kind of wild hair around her ears. Shelties grow hair around their ears probably fastest on their whole body, and some of them will have bushy hair around their ears, and some will be like Daisy where it's long and wild, but not necessarily super bushy. The cuts I'm going to show you will be the same no matter if your dog's hair is really bushy there or not. You'll need two tools. One is a slicker and the other is a mini thinner shears. This is a 40-tooth mini thinners. First we need to talk about the shape of the ear. It's a triangle with two edges here and the base like this. This is important to keep in mind relative especially to the base. First thing is I'm going to gently take the ear by the tip, and we're going to work with the hair on the back of the ear first, and I'm going to brush everything straight out this way. Okay? Even though I've bent the ear over, I'm trying to grab all of the hair behind the ear and just get it lined up straight so it's coming out the side of her head. Now you can still see the ear leather through the hair that's long. That is where you want all of these hairs to end. Now the reason we use a mini thinners is because we don't want to just take a single whack at that with a straight blade and wind up with hairs that are all perfectly even. If you really look closely at a dog's natural hair, there's going to be some slight variation of length, with the average being where you perceive that the hair stops. So how we're going to achieve this with the thinners is we're going to angle our shears and we're going to average around that place. But we're going to move the shears as we take clips back and forth. Okay, so that's the first cut, cutting along this edge of the ear. Now we're going to repeat, but go along the other edge of the ear. So we have to reverse the process and now brush all the hair on the back of the ear. Okay, so you're going to have to get your hand such that you can still grip all that hair you've just brushed. You're going to look closely through the hair to see where your level is, and it's again guided by where the ear leather is. And just to get some length off, I'm going to take several cuts. Okay, and now it's good to check your work. So I'm going to do that comb over again because I have the feeling that I dropped some hair. Yep, sure enough, I've got some spikes. And now I'm going to repeat the comb over out to the side just to make sure that I didn't lose anything there. Oh boy, looks like I sure did. So this is a great example of cheek hair to ear hair transition. Clearly you don't want to cut your cheek hair any shorter than it is. You actually want to wind up with a slow, gradual change from the length of the cheek hair to the length of the ear hair. So if the cheek hair is starting here, then I need to angle my way like this. Those two cuts of the hair in back of the ear are the most important. Now what we have are short hairs at the very tip, gradually longer until we get into the ruff. And it's really nice and gentle because of how those cuts work. Now I want to tell you about the hair in front of the ear. Inside the ear and in front of the ear grows quite a lot of fringe. You do not want to lose all that fringe, but you want to tidy it up a bit. And if you bend the fringe over that's standing in front of the ear, then you can see that you've got some long hairs inside the ear itself that could possibly obstruct airflow, and they add to a general look of messiness. If you're looking at hair growing out of the flat part of the ear, we're going to trim that pretty short. If you're looking at the fringe in front, we're not going to cut that too short. We're just going to tidy it up. So first, the fringe. Daisy's not growing a crazy amount of length, so all I'm going to try to do is even out more or less. Again, I'm not using a straight blade because I don't want it to look perfectly even. That's the trick with Sheltie ears. If you've got a lot of volume here, which Daisy kind of does, and it's breaking up the smooth line of her cheek, you could actually take your shears, nestle them in there, and take a couple of subtle cuts down at the base just to thin out the entire patch of hair. But that's more for show grooming. Now for the hair that is on the inside, I'm just going to take my scissors pretty close to the level of the ear. There we go. Remember, this grows back, so if you accidentally take some off that you wish you hadn't, then you've learned something for next time. So just for comparison, before I start on the other ear, here's a big difference in how tidy she looks, and she still looks totally natural. She doesn't look on the side that I've done, she doesn't appear to have been scissored. Okay, so thinking again about the ear, this edge, and the base. So I'm going to start this time by combing to the outside of the ear. Okay. I can tell that I've grabbed some cheek hair in my hand, so I'm going to be careful not to take too much length off of that bottom pocket there. And then when I reset my hand, I'll be able to tell a little better. Okay, so it might be a little tough to see on camera, but I've got a couple of tufts here that are definitely part of the ear, just based on how far forward they're falling. So I am going to trim those. Pretty nice and short. Okay. How are we looking, Daisy? That's a good girl. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay. Now we're going to do the comb over to the inside. I'm going to catch some of the fringe from the front of the ear. Now this looks pretty drastic in the camera, doesn't it? But this is the length that it really needs to be. And I'm using the edge of the ear leather as my guide, varying the height at which I take my snips so that it doesn't look like I just took a shears to her. I'm going to recheck that comb over. Not bad. Not bad. Now for the ear fringe. Just going to tidy up the length. Not really take a whole lot of length off because you do want that fringe to gracefully cover the base of the ear. And then we've got some long hairs here and here that need to be trimmed. So turning the ear partially inside out, the way I'm kind of flexing it to be open, is going to help those hairs that are growing there that you want to snip to pooch out a little bit and be easier to grab with your shears. For safety purposes, it's very important to watch that you're cutting hair around the ears in such a way that no shards can get down into the ear canal. Now, I want to talk to you about Sheltie horns. So, Sheltie horns are this longer tuft that grows, there's a good looking horn, that grows in the ruff, kind of in the transition between ears and the neck. So what we want to do is, you see how much longer that length is than the hair directly next to it? We want to even that out. So I'm just going to bridge the gap and use the surrounding hair as my length guide and just take the tip of that horn off. It doesn't take much. And this cut is pretty forgiving. Don't use a straight blade on it, but you don't have to obsess over it either. So there we have a little horn. Taking the horn off is just going to let the ruff of your dog look full and even though there's less hair there after taking the horn off. Your dog ends up looking much more full and even back there. We love a ruff that stands up, so you might notice that I'm brushing the hair forward. That is definitely the way you want to brush your Sheltie. Pet them forward too. Keep that ruff standing up. And then if you brush the cheeks up, then you get a nice, lovely finished picture. Good girl. Look at that pretty girl. Look how pretty. That's such a pretty girl. Now it's your turn to try. Don't forget, hair grows back, so you can be fearless giving this a try.